This is a new departure in language instruction for English-speaking people who want to talk to and be understood by jazz musicians, hipsters, beatniks, juvenile delinquents, and the criminal fringe.
Bonjour madame, bonjour monsieur. Nous allons, grâce à ce disque créé spécialement pour vous, essayer de tirer ensemble le maximum de qualité sonore de votre chaîne haute fidélité.
Sit back, relax, and close your eyes.
UK family, what's up? This is Rashid Ali, the voice of 1968 Soul Power. You're listening to Manchester's favorite son, Gareth Butterworth, a.k.a. DJ Maz, here on Legacy 90.1 FM, playing the best in soul, funk, boogie, and rare groove. Gareth Butterworth.
Tis I, Gareth Butterworth, a.k.a. Maz. So fine for a Wednesday afternoon. Yes, this afternoon, Mr. Richard Searling in a little while, an iconic DJ of the Northwest Soul scene, the man behind Expansion Records, Luxury Soul Weekender, Wigan Casino DJ from start to finish. I heard many a Richard Searling set back in the days at Wigan Casino. And Richard has a book out. We'll be chatting about the book. Covers the Wigan Casino period, 73 to 81. Is it Straightening Out the Record, I believe is the title of it? I'm sure Richard will confirm in a little while. Make sure you stick around for that iconic DJ, Richard Searling.
Now that you know how I feel about you, don't let it go to your head, no. Don't let it go to your head, no, 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 no. Now that you know I can't live without you, don't let it go to your head, no, no. Don't let
Classic Philly. A lady I've seen 2 or 3 times live. Miss Jean Carn. This is the northwest of England's biggest independent black music station, Legacy 90.1. So Mr. Richard Searling now. Richard, good afternoon.
I'm here.
Excellent,
how are you doing?
excellent. I'm wonderful, thank you.
Great to speak to you.
Thank you very much for coming on, my friend.
No problem, it's a pleasure. Great to be on Legacy.
Thank you. I'll just give a little biog for those that aren't familiar with him, which I'm sure is very, very few listeners. On the line, Mr. Richard Searling, legendary DJ of the Northwest scene, Wigan Casino DJ from 73 to 81, went on to work many legendary venues. The guy behind the Luxury Soul Weekender at Blackpool, along with his partners Expansion Records. I guess Europe's one of the world's biggest reissue classic album labels. And now Mr. Richard Searling has become an author.
Yeah, he has, by default. Well, thanks for that lovely introduction, Gareth. It's interesting, the Expansion thing, actually, because I don't think we're the biggest, but we must be one of the longest running, you know, because I think it was about 1986 when that label started off, really just to license some of the more obscure American releases that had no chance of getting UK exposure. And it's sort of carried on going, mainly due to Ralph T, I have to say, who's really always determined and always seems to be able to find some interesting music to put out every year. I don't know how he does it, really. But, yeah, as far as the author side of things go, I never really, apart from doing the odd article for Blues and Soul magazine and things like that, I always considered writing to be a little bit like homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah, indeed.
Deadlines approach, heart sinks, da-di-da-di-da. But I was spurred on to do this, Gareth, because looking on social media and just generally talking to people, it looked to me, at least, that there needed to be a book that would accurately document what went on at Wigan Casino for those 8 years. Accurately, from somebody that was actually there for...
There's a lot of Northern Soul related books around, but I struggle to think of one by somebody that was right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was also... I was seeing a lot of things that were innocently misrepresented. So you got, you know, records that had been played at Wigan that people were saying, actually, it was Blackpool Mecca or it was somewhere else. And I thought to myself, you know, over that 8-year period, we played not just a lot of great records, but so many great styles. So you had the old traditional sort of 60s on the 4s. But then towards the end, the dance floor was pretty busy to, well, they were basically new releases.
We're talking about the Saturday night newies here. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, so a lot of those records now are still very highly thought of. So I thought that was something that needed writing about. So I started to think, well, what records was I associated with? And I sat with a piece of paper, and then I put something on Facebook and asked people to actually get involved. And the list went from 40 to 60 to 80, and before we knew it, it got to about 150. Right.
With people reminding me all the time, oh, don't you remember you played that? It didn't go down very well.
Yeah, are we talking tracks? Sorry, are we talking tracks you broke, or just tracks that you...
Tracks that I actually had first and broke, that I'm sort of personally associated with by playing them first. I mean, there were a lot of others, obviously, in 8 years. My goodness me, I don't know how many records I would have played there, Gareth, but certainly a lot, but 150, 160 that were actually, I could actually say, well, I remember where I went to get that. I found it in a junk shop or whatever. And that formed the backbone of the book, really. It gave me, obviously, 100 and odd pages straight away. So if you think a book's about 250 pages, it was then a matter of really bolting on people's memories at the back. So I asked people to, you know, get in touch with me, tell us your funny stories about getting to Wigan and jumping the train or whatever.
I'm sure there's many a story there.
Yeah, and then, most importantly, really, there was the opportunity to correct history that's been rewritten, I think, so many times since Wigan closed, where all sorts of silly claims had been made that weren't necessary. You know, for instance, Wigan Casino was voted #1 disco in the world.
I've heard that. You know, Beat Studio 54.
Look, Wigan. Far be it from me to criticise Wigan, it made my name as a DJ. It was brilliant. We'd have been over the moon if we'd got that accolade. But it's just a lie. But the problem is, Gareth, lazy journalists. And it's on Wikipedia. They look at it. Oh, we'll do a piece on Northern Soul. Oh, Wigan Casino was... and it wasn't. So it's things like that, and how Wigan opened, whose idea was it, why it closed, how did that all come about? So I've gone into those in as delicate a way as I possibly can, without ruffling too many feathers. And, you know, it's one of those things I'm glad I've done it. I'll never do another book, I can guarantee.
Oh, right. That was a question I was going to
Well,
ask.
I don't think I will, because it's, once you get after the Wigan period, there becomes a huge, there's all sorts of stuff you could talk about, but it's more fragmented.
Yeah, many directions.
There's not the continuity.
No.
And when I look at the records, I mean, sure, there were some fantastic discoveries, you know, the Gloria Scotts of this world.
Yeah.
But they weren't as identifiable with me as a DJ. They were more a collective thing. All the DJs were playing.
Yeah, not so much as discoveries.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Wigan has still got a place in so many people's heart. The book, as I think I may have mentioned, sold out in its light blue edition.
Yeah.
So we've just done another run in an orange cover, so that the people that bought the blue one, light blue one, will have a bit of a collector's item.
Yeah, indeed. Sorry, go on.
Now, the reason we've done the orange edition is because we haven't yet gone the Amazon route. And people said at the beginning, will it be on Amazon? And I said, well, no, can't see it, because it's going to take us quite a long time to sell the first run. We'd rather it just went to people that were really into it. So now with this second book going on to Amazon, it's going to be very interesting to see two things really: where it sells internationally, maybe people of expats, people like that, people that wouldn't have known about it, and also to see what reviews it gets on Amazon, because that's quite important. I think if a book gets a good review, then people will take a chance on it, and I remember going to Wigan a few times, you know. Yeah,
well, it's a bit trendy again, Northern, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, somebody said to me the other day, one of the younger lads actually, younger DJs, he said it's getting very difficult to get the young people to come out to the clubs. They're very aware of it as a fashion thing, trendy. It's got that image, you know, people like to dress in the clothes maybe, but they're not necessarily following up by going to the venues. And if there's one tricky thing about Northern Soul now, is are there enough people coming through, younger people, younger DJs, that are going to be able to stick with it and won't get disillusioned? Because, let's be honest, we had the glory years in the 1970s. For soul music generally, it was so great because the new releases were obviously of such sophistication, and all that 60s stuff that had been hidden away was being discovered. So we had those two elements coming together in a 5, 6, 7 year period. Venues like the Ritz in Manchester, anybody that ever went to those all days, it was incredible, playing Crown Heights Affair 1 minute, and then some obscurity from the 60s the next minute, and the dance floor stayed full. I mean,
there was, of course, those that resented the 70s stuff that came through.
Yeah, absolutely.
The purists.
Soul music died in 1969, and they're not prepared to open their minds to it, which is really it's rather ironic, you know, because when Northern Soul, although somebody said to me last week, why do they call it Northern Soul? It's such a dated phrase, and it really doesn't apply to the North exclusively. So, I just said, well, come up with a better name if you can then, but you'll find it hard to shake off. But certainly a lot of the, in the early years, say the Twisted Wheel, 1965 onwards, in Manchester, they weren't dancing because those records were hard to find.
Absolutely.
They were dancing because they were just great records, which the radio stations didn't play, so they didn't hit the charts. They were only available for a matter of months, and then the rarity started to creep in later. But their minds were open. Their minds were open to new releases. Freda Payne's Band of Gold got played at the Twisted Wheel, for instance. And nowadays, people seem to have adopted a very sort of moral, well, you know, we've been on the scene that long, and we know that's not Northern Soul. And it almost destroys itself from within. You know, and I've got to say, it's not on its own, because I think the modern soul scene's a bit like that as well, where when Soulful Dance came in, a lot of the DJs went that route and couldn't see that there was a way of maybe sticking with the soulful stuff and playing soulful dance. They seem to now want to be, I only want to be on in the soulful dance room, don't put me on in that room anymore. And it's like, really? Isn't it all just, if you're a good DJ, you should be able to turn your hand to any style.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff that was played at Wigan, you'd now put under various titles, the stuff that you'd now call modern soul, rare soul, crossover.
Yeah.
I think people will also be surprised that some of the more commercial tracks that were played at Wigan, Sly and the Family Stone, Chairman of the Board, George Benson.
I Love Me. It was a big record in 1980.
Yeah.
Very big.
Absolutely. That was massive at the casino.
I think I played Let's Go Round Again by the Average White Band as well, I seem to remember, because that was them two, May and Lucas, when it was absolutely brand new, before anybody had really heard it. And I think that's the other thing about DJs on this scene. I'm sure you know different, Gareth. You still get the buzz when you've got something, and it sounds very egotistical, this, but it's an honest when you've got it before anybody else.
Absolutely.
And you've always got to be on the lookout. But maybe it's not a new record, but you were the first one to play it. You're the one that thought, you know what, that'll work in my set. I'm going to have a go with it, and I'll make sure that I've got another 5 records with me. That if it doesn't work, the next 5 will. So I'll pull them back on the dance floor.
Yeah, well, that's a sign of a good DJ, don't you think? A guy that's prepared to break tracks.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so as well, absolutely.
I mean, anyone can play the same tracks as everyone else is playing.
Well, and that's what, again, with the Northern scene at the minute, that's another failing where I'll get DJs saying to me, can we come and do this gig for you? I've just spent $100,000 in the last year on records.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you buy? And they tell me. And all the records have either already been big or other DJs, not one DJ, but a collection of DJs, have already got them. So I'm thinking, well, aren't you better off looking for something that nobody else has got? But of course, then you're into a risk situation. And I suppose we were lucky at Wigan, Gareth, where week after week we had 800, 1,200, 1,400 people in front of us. You could actually spend a few weeks breaking a record, actually getting it known. It might not work at first, 40 people might dance, then the next week it's 80, and suddenly people are asking you for it, and you know then that it's taken off. Whereas now I think most of the events are monthly at best, and there's not that continuity. Dare I say it, and I've said it in my books, so I will say it, I think radio's more important now than clubs for breaking records.
Yeah, it enables you to play those tracks that you're not responsible to the dance floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can afford. You've got that freedom. But I think people listen to radio shows, maybe not live, maybe they listen on catch-up, but they do listen. And I think there's quite a lot of records in the last 10 years that have come through on the northern scene anyway, of a more mellow, mid-tempo nature, great radio records. If you'd played them cold in a club, they cleared the floor. But people have heard them week after week on the radio. Then the DJ drops the needle in a nightclub, and we know it, we're on the floor. So I think radio is the way forward, be it podcasts, or a lot of DJs do their own podcasts now, don't they, which is obviously another great avenue.
Indeed. I think, Northern Soul took advantage of a unique period. A lot of that 60s and early 70s soul, the number of tiny labels that put stuff out that never got beyond their own area, that then, disappeared, did not become commercial. Nowadays, with so much social media around, there's barely a track comes out that, people cannot become aware of. There was an absolute gold mine of 60s and early 70s Northern Soul records, completely undiscovered. Yeah,
they lay hidden away, waiting for somebody to find them. And then people would go out there, and suddenly, I heard John Anderson talking yesterday. Somebody was talking about Barbara Lynn's Moving on a Groove, and the fact it's worth 600, 800 quid or whatever. And he said, well, when I cleared out Huey P. Moe's studios in Texas, 25 years or 30, I took 600 copies, brought them all back to the UK.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, John
and
Anderson...
they've just been sitting there gathering dust. I don't think it sold anything that came out as a new release.
Yeah, John Anderson, of course, being one of the guys, mainly responsible for a lot of the tracks turning up.
Well, he's responsible for me being a DJ, simple as. I would never have hacked it without John and being able to, wait for the phone call when he got back from America. Hey, Richard, I've got these records, I think you'll like them, get in the car, get over here.
Right, so
and very rarely was I disappointed.
Yeah, that was a major part of your sourcing, was it? Or did you go rooting yourself in the States?
Yeah, it was, and that's another reason I wrote the book, because, again, I didn't feel John was getting the credit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very private person, he doesn't actually want the recognition, but I'm sure in his quieter moments he must get frustrated, because, probably 80% of all the records on the northern scene, that's a lot.
Yeah.
John Anderson was a guy that,
Yeah.
if he didn't discover them, he brought copies in to supply the demand legally.
Yeah, well, I often think of those packs, the Soul Bowl packs that, £10 for a whole stack of records, and in there was hundreds and, thousands of pounds worth of vinyl a few years later.
Yeah. If you could turn back the hands of time, Gareth.
Yeah, indeed. So that brings me on to cover-ups. You played one or two. What were your feelings on cover-ups to this day? Unnecessary
Well, I
Evil?
thought they were an essential part of my armoury at Wigan Casino.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons for that. One I've already alluded to, the need for a DJ to make his name, to have exclusive records,
indeed.
having shelled out quite a bit of dosh for them and taken the risk. And just as importantly, to keep the true identity away from piracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately, all cover-ups get uncovered,
Yeah.
unless they're an acetate that never came out, in which
Indeed,
case you're probably
indeed.
safe. Although even one of those,
Yeah.
the Rose Valentine record, is probably read in my book.
Yeah.
that-
For the benefit of the listeners, when we say cover-ups, we're talking about records that the DJ would hide the record. He'd cover up the label so that no other DJ or punter could find out what the record was. And then obviously later on, at some point when the record was broken, the DJ would reveal the true artist. He would give a different artist name, a different track name often, just to keep it unique.
That's it. It was actually taken from the Jamaican sound systems. They used to do it as well,
Right.
because obviously they have a friendly rivalry both on sound and on
Right, so yeah,
on repertoire. So it was a mystique. And I mean, sometimes you've still got people now that will refer to a record by its cover-up name and say things like, "It'll always be Joe Matthews to me," even though it's Cecil Washington.
Indeed.
And those quotes I thought were gold in my book that I got from people.
Yeah, I remember around 83, 84, you'd look in Blues and Soul and the like, and you'd look at playlists, and 50% of them would be cover-ups.
Yeah.
See you, see you, see you.
That's right.
Constantly.
Well, it grew in... Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that was actually, probably even more prevalent in the 80s after Wigan had closed.
Yeah.
At Stafford and places like that.
Indeed.
You're right, yeah, absolutely it was.
Yeah. We've not told the listeners where they can find the book, Richard.
We haven't, so maybe we can do that now if you'd allow me to. It's locally, it's available at a record shop called Beatin Rhythm in Prestwich.
Yeah.
They're only open, I think, Thursday through Saturday. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but they are on Twitter. They've got it in stock. It's also available online from raresoulvinyl.co.uk.
Yeah.
It's on eBay now, and it will be on Amazon, I'm told, from tomorrow, $24.99.
Yeah, I looked last night, I couldn't find it on.
No, I think Amazon, because they're not holding stock, and we don't want them to, by the way, because they can mess about with the prices if they do that.
Yeah.
They're just an agent to market it. Until you've physically got the stock, you're not allowed to mention it on Amazon. So the stock arrived this morning at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So I've said to the lads, let me know when it's actually up and live on Amazon. So I would be very surprised if it's not live by the end of today, certainly by the end of tomorrow.
Right, and the title of the book, Richard?
Setting the Record Straight.
Okay. So your plans now for the future, Richard? Well, you've already said you're not going to write another book.
No, you can hold me to that.
Yeah. I noticed that there was an album out. I trust that's down to you in relation to the book. There was a vinyl album out.
Yeah, it was a sampler. We initially I wanted to put together tracks that I really loved from the book, but of course with licensing these days, you could be waiting 2 years.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to go the shortcut route, where the guy said, "Look, these are the tracks I can get quick.
Right.
Are they good enough?" And they were.
Yeah.
So we did 500 heavy vinyl, and they've gone through.
Yeah.
So that was just a nice little add-on to the book, really.
Yeah. No plans for a follow-up vinyl album.
I don't. Well, not unless the guy comes back. It wasn't really anything to do with me. That I didn't get involved in the P&L, so to speak. But if he wanted to do another one, I wouldn't stand in his way. Mm-hmm. It's how many other fish he's got to fry. I mean, what I have got coming out, hopefully this year later, is a couple of projects. This Motown 60th this year.
Right.
I have suggested a couple of ideas to them. I had a triple CD out before Christmas called Essential Motown Northern Soul, which ended up in all the supermarkets for about $5, and they did some tremendous volume on that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they'll go with this other idea I've got, which is basically looking at all the Motown download onlys, which are a bit of a waste of time in my opinion for the northern scene, because they're not into doing that.
Yeah.
Try and get them on a double album or a triple CD around June time.
Right. How do you feel about, these compilations turning up in the supermarkets? I mean, obviously from a business perspective, it's great for you. But, for the music to be going out to the masses,
I think it's a cyclical thing. I think there's so few record shops now that I think if they don't go that route in Amazon, the record companies wouldn't be in business themselves.
Indeed.
I think it's only the real winners that hit the supermarkets. I think it's the greatest hits type compilation, which is what this Motown was that I did actually.
Yeah.
I think all the tracks on it had been out in various other guises, in box sets or 7-inch singles. So it's almost a waterfall effect where ultimately you can allow them to go to the masses. And who knows, somebody innocently might pick that up and get into the music as a result of it. It's a bit like filming at Wigan back in '76 when there was an uproar when this England came.
Yeah.
But now we look back and think, well, actually, I'm glad they did, because people can now see what it was actually like.
Yeah.
It's not folklore.
Yeah.
This thing actually happened, People that are just in the 20s now will be amazed to see it. So sometimes you've just got to look at the bigger picture a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Your label, Expansion. In recent years, I've noticed you've kind of moved away from new material. Is that deliberate?
Well, yeah, I mean, because I think of the downloads.
Yeah.
And the fact that people can download and burn their own CD. Why bother buying one from me and Ralph? So I think it's just been compilations, really, or if there's a couple of rare, the rarest stuff, I suppose. I think Ralph's done very well with the 2-on-1s.
Yeah.
Groups like the Manhattans and what have you, and Shy Lights and people
great
like
value,
that.
Great value, the 2 albums in one.
Yeah, and 7s as well, Gareth. He's put a lot of 7s out, like the Overdoses, Joy, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Sylvia Stripling's. They've all done well. I think he runs about 500 of each, and a few. I think Ethel Beatty. I think he had to repress that 3 times.
Yeah.
So I think vinyl has sort of rescued the label a little bit there, because it's very hard to sell CDs these days. It really is.
Yeah. Everybody wants it on MP3 or, they just duplicate.
Do it yourself.
One person buys the CD and duplicates and gives it to all his mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very little profit in it for the...
Well, there's one person buys it and copies it for the mates.
Exactly.
Without name dropping, I once got visited in one of my buying jobs by a guy called Maurice Oberstein, who ran CBS Records, Columbia Records over here.
Yeah.
He was doing a tour up north, and he said, I think it was about 1990, 88, was it? The CDs came out, 87?
Yeah, around that time, yeah.
All he said to the executives was, well, you do realise you've given the master away.
Yeah, exactly.
Fewer words never spoken, because when it was just vinyl, okay, you could make cassettes. But I mean, you laugh about it now. Home safe killing music.
The quality just wasn't there.
They only lasted about a year before they all snapped. You had to buy the vinyl.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the way it's all come round full circle, actually.
Yeah, I keep reading about this vinyl revival. Do you think? I personally don't think it's as big.
Not as big as they say. No, a lot of people. No, it's a bit like what we said earlier on about Northern Soul being trendy. I think they'll put them in frames on the walls, or maybe have them to tell the friends at the dinner party, oh look, I've got Dark Side of the Moon back on vinyl.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's serious collecting. But sevens is. I think a lot of these sevens now that they're doing small runs off.
Yeah.
They're £100 after a few months.
Yeah.
Up from so I think that's a different ball game, but it's tiny in the great scheme of things.
Yeah, I think with the sevens, it's the more serious collector. I mean, the Guardian reader and the Observer reader that reads about these vinyl revivals and goes out and starts buying albums. It's more, middle of the road albums than 7 inches.
Rumours, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Indeed. So, if you can give that address again, Richard, where indeed people can find it.
Yeah, thank you, Gareth. It's raresoulvinyl.co.uk. And I can give you a phone number if you don't mind for that one.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
open 9 till 5. It's 01706 818 604.
That's great. Do you have a personal website or?
Well, I've got a Facebook page, but I'm up to the limit on that. But I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
And on Twitter at Richard Searling.
Okay.
Have you got a copy of the book, by the way?
I haven't, Richard. I haven't.
Right. Well, let me send you one. Will you send me a?
I'll get in touch with you later on. That's wonderful.
I'll get one of these deep orange ones out to you.
That's great. So, Richard, anything else you want to mention before we go?
Well, a couple of exciting events happening later this year in Blackpool. I should probably go and live there, actually. Spend that much time. Just come off the back of the Luxury Soul Weekender, which was great. And Incognito was just absolutely off the hook on the Saturday night.
The single best Weekender.
Yeah, it was wonderful. They were so great. They held the crowd for 90 minutes. Hardly anybody left the room. Yeah. A couple of other events I've got coming up this year. The biggest one being in June at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. That's the International Soul Festival. We got Brenda Holloway, Ronnie McNear, Prince Philip Mitchell, Randy Brown, H.B. Barnum, and Brenda Holloway.
That's Eddie Holman, wonderful lineup. Wonderful lineup.
And 7 rooms, and a couple of Northern Soul events at the Blackpool Tower in May and November. And to be honest, that's enough for me. At 66 years of age, plus my radio work I do, that keeps me busy enough, Gareth.
Yeah. Do you see yourself ever retiring from DJing?
Yeah. I'm doing my last ever, how could I forget? I'm doing my last ever all-night appearance in Stoke in September, Saturday the 21st of September at the King's Hall. I'm still going to be DJing after that, but it's going to be really just passing sets, not at prime time. I'd rather, if I'm going to DJ out now, I'd rather be playing what I really believe in rather than having to just keep the dance floor full. You can't really go on prime time. I'm actually looking forward to doing Mike Stevens' 50th birthday party at the Band on the Wall in February the 16th, is it? Something like that, because I know I'll be able to play some of the stuff we played at Parker's there, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, another iconic venue, of course.
Definitely.
Yeah. Sad to see the loss of Dean Johnson recently.
Yeah, it was awful. Dean is an irreplaceable character, both as a man and as a purveyor of great music. He had great taste.
Yeah, indeed.
Didn't follow at all, did he? When I worked with him at Parker's, we never clashed, Sometimes you work with DJs and, I was going to play that. You're not playing that, are you?
Yeah.
It was never like that with Dean. He had his own world and his own set of records and his own following. Yeah. And it would never have worked. If he'd done the same as me, or I'd done the same as him, it would never have worked.
Yeah. Okay, for anybody listening, I'm going to post the links for the book purchases and Richard, etc., on my Facebook page. You'll be able to find it on my Facebook page. Richard, it's been great having you on.
Gareth, really great to speak to you, and remember to send me that PM.
I will do.
I'll get the book out to you, and all the best to you and everybody at Legacy.
Thank you, Richard. Take care.
Thanks, Gareth.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.